everyone can please make sure they mute their microphones, that would be great. We're going to stream live for a little while to make sure I don't get any feedback. I have a John Guard needing to get in.
Yes, you can let him in. He's from Fair and Pierce.
Thank you.
Is there getting any feedback, or does it seem okay?
Nothing yet. Hopefully it all goes well.
Okay.
I have CRUSIT. I'm not sure who that is. Do we know who that is?
Is the project applicant.
Thank you.
So you can,
yes, that's the project applicant for Raising Cane's.
Rebecca Schaefer.
yes, she's with Fair and Pierce. You can also let her in.
I don't know.
Jay Davison.
It's Jay from engineering, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, please let him in.
Looks like Andrew's still trying to connect to audio.
Did Marcel and Michael say they were coming?
I had confirmation from all commissioners.
I'll be sure we have a quorum.
So we should have everyone but Tim and obviously Jack.
Yeah.
Correct.
There's Andrew. I can see him. Can you hear us, Andrew?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I have Melanie Bagley.
Yes, she's with Raising Canes as well. I see Marcel is here as well.
Yes. If I can just remind you all to please mute your microphones until we get started, that would be great. I haven't seen Ryan. There he is. It's 7 o'clock. Do we have anyone else that we're still waiting on?
I don't see Michael Lagomasino. Am I missing him
Oh,
from
you
here?
know what? You are correct. I have not seen him check in yet.
We can give him a moment if you'd like. I think we do have a quorum though, as I see. 1, 2, 3. It's hard to see all you guys on one screen. But it looks like we have 4, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Shall we begin?
Yes, we can.
Well, I would like to call to order the Citrus Heights Planning Commission meeting. Today is December 9th, and it is 7 o'clock. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Flowers,
Present.
Commissioner Engel,
Here.
Commissioner Lagomasino, not present. Commissioner Van Duker,
Here.
Vice Chair Schaefer is not present. Vice Chair Sheeler,
Here.
thank you.
Mr. Singer, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item, please.
Public comment. Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the audience may address the Commission on any item within the jurisdiction of the Commission or on any agenda item. Those wishing to speak on non-agenda items will be called upon at the beginning of the meeting. Those wishing to speak for or against an agenda item will be called upon after the presentation by the City Planning Department and the applicant for that agenda item.
Is there anyone that wants to speak on items not on the agenda?
I don't have anything. Casey, do you see anything?
No, nothing in the inbox.
Thank you.
Close public comment. Would you please read the next item?
Consent calendar, approval of minutes for October 28th, 2020.
My audio is breaking up. Is anyone else having that problem?
No.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any comments or corrections on the minutes of October 28th?
No.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes of the October 28th meeting.
I second.
That was Marcel, correct?
Janelle.
Oh, Janelle, thank you. That's why I ask. Minutes pass.
You know, unfortunately, actually, Stacy, we need to take a roll call for every vote when
Okay.
we Zoom. Even though it's just minutes, we still need to do it that way.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. I was unaware of that. Commissioner Flowers,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Lagomasino is absent. Commissioner Van Duker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheeler,
Yes.
Chair Schaefer is absent. Motion passes, minutes approved. I have Greg trying to attend the meeting.
I believe he's with the development.
Yeah, he's civil engineer for Raising Cane's.
Thank you.
Is Michael in the waiting room by chance?
No.
Okay.
Stacy, would you read the next item, please?
Public hearing, item 6A, Raising Cane's drive-through restaurant, design review permit and use permit, 7800 Greenback Lane. Applicant is proposing to construction of a 3,172 foot square building, Raising Cane's fast food drive-through restaurant with 199 square foot outdoor covered patio on 3,566 square foot development area. The project is exempt from CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act per section 15332. Project planner Eric Singer.
Thanks, Stacy. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So as Stacy mentioned, tonight's project is for Raising Cane's drive-thru restaurant. The actions to consider tonight, like you mentioned, are going to be an exemption from CEQA under section 15332 for infill development projects, and approving a use permit, design review permit, and tree permit for the construction of a Raising Cane's drive-thru restaurant located at 7800 Greenback. So looking at the project site, as you can see here, this is looking south towards the Hobby Lobby there on the corner of Greenback and Birdcage Street. The project site itself occupies just the northernmost section of the parking lot for Hobby Lobby. So it fronts Greenback Lane to the north. It has commercial properties to both the, the north, east, and south sides, with multifamily residential adjacent across Birdcage Street, the Birdcage Village Apartments. The project site is rectangular, relatively flat. There's a slight upslope from the front of the site toward Hobby Lobby. The entire parcel, including Hobby Lobby, is exactly 5 acres in size, but the site in question, the lease area that Raising Cane's will be occupying and doing the majority of the site improvements to, is approximately 0.89 acres in size. So just a brief project overview. Raising Cane's is a nationwide fast food restaurant chain. They're specialized in serving fried chicken, has over 500 locations nationwide. For this particular site, they're proposing a 3,172 square foot restaurant with a 2-lane drive-through, as well as an outdoor dining area. Their proposed hours of operation are 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily. The site improvements, just broadly speaking, include landscaping, site lighting, driveway improvements, the aforementioned outdoor dining area, as well as additional amenities. Just a few notes here. The applicant had originally requested to be open beyond 1 a.m. on weekends. After having some discussions with both planning and the police department, it was agreed upon that 1 a.m. would be a reasonable hour of closing. The project is conditioned to allow the city to determine that if extended hours of operation are appropriate after 6 months of operation, planning and the police department can review and determine if that is acceptable. There's also a condition that stipulates that if there are any issues that arise from the late hours of operation, the current hours can be amended or other safety measures implemented as recommended by the police department and planning. So looking at the site plan as well as the landscaping plan here, the site is accessed via 2 entrances. And let's make sure my annotation works here. First and foremost, via the Greenback Lane entrance, and not pictured here, but pictured on the first page of the full plan set, attachment number 5. The second entrance is via Birdcage Street further south, approximately here, actually more likely a little further south, right in front of the Hobby Lobby. The Fair and Piers traffic study that was conducted showed at other Raising Cane's locations, particularly in Southern California, there was a maximum queue length of vehicles of approximately 17 vehicles at those locations. This site is designed to accommodate up to 21 vehicles. So that is meeting that requirement for the optimal queuing length from the drive-through menu board to the entrance. The applicant is also proposing to stripe the entrance at the Birdcage Street entrance with a keep clear paint to deter any outbound vehicles from blocking the ability of incoming vehicles to turn into that first drive aisle opening. So essentially preventing any kind of a backup onto Birdcage Street as they enter. There are 24 parking spaces being made available as part of the lease area, which is everything outlined here. It's not exact, but everything outlined in that red mark. So that would be all the parking included in the center portion here, as well as these spaces off to the side. But important to note that there is a reciprocal parking agreement with Hobby Lobby to the south there. So patrons of Raising Cane's would have the ability to park in any of the stalls located in these drive aisles to the south. Outdoor dining is in a covered patio area here with secured bike parking. Long-term bike parking is provided here with short-term bike parking provided here. There are 2 proposed pedestrian walkway connections. That is one of the original drawings that we received. Staff and the applicant worked together to kind of formulate the best possible pedestrian connections to not only Hobby Lobby to the south, but Birdcage Street as well, to allow for maximum pedestrian connections as is outlined in our commercial design guidelines. The first is this connection here that actually extends all the way south to Hobby Lobby itself, as well as one that would connect here across to Birdcage Street. Finally, the project is, I apologize, the second last item that I'll be mentioning here. This area in particular, in between the pedestrian walkways and the exit from the drive-through, has been conditioned to include some type of stamped concrete or similar product to provide essentially a greater visual warning for exiting vehicles that will provide enhanced safety for pedestrians crossing those crosswalks. And the project has been conditioned to install landscaping and screening walls around the perimeter of the site. So looking essentially along the perimeter, the outer perimeter of the drive-through lane here, and it's better illustrated on the landscaping plan. It would be through the combined use of landscaping as well as retaining walls to prevent any kind of headlight glare from vehicles queuing in the drive-through, affecting oncoming traffic on Greenback, Birdcage, or the adjacent apartment complex across the street. Again, as part of the project, several trees will be removed to make way for the construction of this restaurant. However, the proposed plantings that they'll be doing will more than mitigate the number of trees that are being removed. So looking at the design of the building is a single-story structure with alternating heights, contemporary architectural features. These include the use of metal awnings, stucco finish, some modular brick accents. So it does provide, a nice level of visual interest as you're traveling along the Greenback and Birdcage corridors. There's a proposed 10-foot tall steel canopy that will extend over the drive-through lanes there and the ordering boards that would match the remaining, the rest of the metal awnings around the building. And the project is also conditioned to make sure that all rooftop equipment, all HVAC equipment, et cetera, is screened from view by parapets that would run the length of the roof line. Another angle of the proposed elevations here, as you can see, just a better idea of the color scheme, the materials involved. Again, providing a nice contemporary design with good articulation and diverse use of materials. So looking at the environmental review side of things, the project is exempt under section 15332 of CEQA. It is an infill exemption. So the project site itself is the entire project site, the entire parcel is 5 acres exactly, so it would qualify. However, drilling down further, solely the project site where the majority of the work is going to be occurring is far less than 5 acres in size. The noise analysis that was conducted shows that the project will meet all city zoning code standards and that the proposed microphone system meets our standards. It's adjustable to ambient noise levels. The project meets all traffic and circulation standards. And as it is already completely developed, it is not a sensitive site for biological resources. So these are the recommended motions for the project, and staff is available to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Do any of the commissioners have questions of staff?
I don't.
I'm seeing a lot of heads saying no. Okay. I would like to open the public hearing to allow the applicant to provide any additional information.
I'll go first. My name is Melanie Bagley. I am the property development manager for Raising Cane's. I'm here in Texas and so happy to be joining you via computer. I miss having opportunities to travel to the Northern California area, but this will do for now. We've had a great experience working with Eric and with Casey. As Eric mentioned, we've collaborated a lot on pedestrian connectivity, landscaping, assuring that safety concerns are being met, noise is being mitigated, and that the site is adequately parked, landscaped, and screened. So I'm here as well as my civil engineer, Greg McMillan, and I also have our architect, Chet Russett, with us as well to answer any technical questions you all may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions from commissioners? Seeing none, is there anyone else that wants to speak on this item?
There's no emails in the planning inbox, so none at our end.
Thank you very much. Then I will close the hearing, public hearing. Any other questions? Any discussion by the commissioners of the project?
I'd just like to point out that I'm happy that you preemptively addressed the hours. That's great. That would have been my only question, I'm sure. Everything else looks good.
I had a great conversation with Eric. Forgive me. Is it the chief or his?
Seth Semino, Sergeant Seth Semino in the police department.
Yes, that's right. Very positive. He and I are going to touch base, as Eric mentioned, in about 6 months. And assuming things are going well, that's definitely something we would like to revisit. But, we can definitely work with the 1 a.m. time slot.
Great.
Thank you.
Very good. I did have one question of staff that I neglected to ask. The question about the median and addition of the 6-inch median in Greenback Lane. Can someone explain that to me?
Sure. Hi, this is Leslie Bloomquist, City Engineer in the General Services Department. One of the items identified through the Fair and Pierce traffic study was the potential for vehicles when exiting from the Greenback Lane driveway, because it is a right turn out only driveway, that they may be likely to try and enter the left turn that goes into the shopping center on the other side of Greenback, just east of the project site, and try and make a U-turn. In order to get into that left turn pocket, you'd have to cross over 3 lanes of traffic to get there. It's just east of the driveway. And then with the bus stop right in front of Raising Cane's on Greenback, when buses are parked there, your sight distance will be limited, and then you'd still have to cross those 3 lanes of traffic. So we really wanted to discourage vehicles from trying to make that maneuver. And so that's why the requirement for the no U-turn sign was posted there. Because there's no median in the road, we just have those raised channelizers. We really need to have a place to put that sign that'll be protected from oncoming and traveling vehicles from hitting that, just for maintenance and to ensure that that safety stays in place.
Makes sense. Thank you. Good. Any other questions by commissioners or comments? I see no questions or comments. I would ask for a motion for this project.
I'll go, Andrew. I move that we adopt resolution 20-blank, determining the project is category exempt from CEQA for section 15332 infill development projects of the California Environmental Quality Act.
I second.
I'm sorry. Marcel, second.
Just if I can real quick, I know Michael was having some technical issues, but he is the phone number on there. So Michael, if you can hear us, are muted right now. If you would like to, when the roll call happens, if you'd like to unmute yourself, that'd be great. Or I can also have Stacy try to unmute you if you're still having technical issues.
Call the roll. Would you call the roll for the motion?
Casey, can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Michael. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you have any?
No, I have no questions or anything.
Okay. Stacy?
I'm ready to vote on the motion.
Thank you.
Item 6A, adopt resolution 20-09, project exempt from CEQA. Commissioner Flowers?
Yes.
Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Lagomasino?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Duker?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheeler?
Yes.
And Chair Schaefer is absent.
Should I move the second item? I move to approve a use permit to allow the construction of a 3,172 square foot restaurant with drive-through service and 199 square foot outdoor covered patio located at 7800 Greenback Lane, subject to findings contained in this staff report and attached conditions of approval.
And I'll second that again.
Item 6A, approve use permit to allow construction of 3,172 square foot restaurant with drive-through. Commissioner Flowers?
Yes.
Commissioner Lagomasino, I'm sorry, Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Logomasino,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Duker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheeler,
Yes.
and Chair Schaefer is absent. Motion passed.
Okay, and I move to approve a design review permit to allow the construction of 3,172 square foot restaurant and drive-through service and 199 square foot outdoor covered patio location. Oh, I'm sorry. Subject to the findings contained in the staff report and attached conditions of approval.
I'll second that once again.
Item 6A, approved design review permit to allow construction of a 3,172 square foot restaurant with drive-through. Commissioner Flowers,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Logomasino,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Duker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheeler,
Yes.
Chair Schaefer is absent. Motion passed.
Okay, I move to approve a tree permit to allow the removal of 11 protected trees for the construction of a 3,172 square foot restaurant with drive-through service and 199 square foot outdoor covered patio located at 7800 Greenback Lane, subject to the findings contained in this staff report and attached conditions of approval.
And I second.
Item 6A, approved tree permit to allow construction of 3,172 square foot restaurant with drive-through. Commissioner Flowers,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Logomasino,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Duker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheeler,
Yes.
and Chair Schaefer is absent. Motion passed.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any determination by the planning commission may be appealed to the city council by filing a written notice of appeal and the appropriate filing fees, $250, with the city clerk not later than 10 calendar days after the date on which the determination is made. Next item, please.
Public hearing item 6B, GPA-2020 draft amendment to the general plan housing element. In accordance with state law, Citrus Heights is updating its general plan housing element to reflect new housing needs projected by Sacramento Area Council of Governments for the 2021 and 2029 period. The Planning Commission will review the draft housing element update, which includes minor modifications to existing policies and forward recommendation to the City Council. Please see www.citrusheights.net/HE for more details. The project is exempt from CEQA under section 15061, where the amendment is covered by common sense exemption that CEQA applies only to projects that have potential for causing significant effect on the environment. Project planner Eric Singer.
Thanks again, Stacy. Really appreciate it. So is everybody able to see my screen okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so just a quick overview of what we'll be discussing. Obviously, just the nuts and bolts of the housing element update. We did have, a fairly in-depth overview of why this process occurs at our previous meeting, so we won't get bogged down in so much of the reasons why, but more so the actual findings that were made during the updating of the background report, any policy changes that are occurring to the general plan, the vacant land inventory that was compiled, and community feedback that's been solicited throughout this process. So first off, just a quick overview. This is a retread of a lot of the information that we discussed in the previous meeting, but doesn't hurt to review it again. The housing element is updated every 8 years. It's required by the State Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD for short. We're currently in the 2013 to 2021 cycle, and the next cycle will account for 2021 through 2029. This would be the fourth housing element cycle for the city since we were incorporated. The updated plan, it reflects obviously the new housing needs projected by SACOG, the Sacramento Area Council of Governments, as well as available population and housing data from the U.S. Census Bureau, as well as various other agencies. So first, the first element of doing the housing element update is the background report. The reason why we do this, it's important to ensure that, you know, essentially all the demographic, economic, housing changes and trends that are occurring at citrus heights over the last 8 years are reflected in our general plan, in our housing element, and that we are still meeting the needs of the community. Want to make sure that everything is still relevant. So just a few interesting tidbits that I was able to pull out of the background report update from this cycle. One, you know, component, we always like to keep track of how many housing units are being built. So from 2010 to 2019, which is not the precise range of the current housing element cycle, but just giving a nice kind of decade-long look at how the city's growth has moved. We have built 145 net new housing units, so net meaning new construction minus any demolitions that have occurred. Another interesting piece of information is that the median home prices in Citrus Heights, which are around $370,000, have remained fairly low relative to the surrounding region. And another interesting fact that has, I think, contributed to the difficulty that many jurisdictions have found with helping create more housing is that the cost of construction per square foot in California has nearly doubled in the last almost 20 years. So using the data and the information that we've gleaned from updating the background report, we're able to then come up with any relevant policy changes within the housing element. A few of these policy changes that we looked at are essentially the creation of the rental housing inspection program, which replaced the need for looking at the feasibility of a resale inspection program to a degree. And, you know, again, just looking at ways in that we can continue to focus on green building practices, making sure that energy efficient construction is at the forefront of our housing goals. And, you know, ultimately, our last housing element cycle was so successful. I mean, our policies had proven to be so effective that we didn't really have that many policy changes for the upcoming cycle. And part of that is also just due to the fact that as new state laws come about and as, you know, things change in this dynamic environment, we are continually updating our zoning code every single year, you know, just to reflect those changes in state law. A great example would be accessory dwelling units. As those have become more and more important to encouraging housing growth in California, state laws have changed to loosen the restrictions on being able to build ADUs in many jurisdictions. And Citrus Heights was actually at the forefront of loosening our restrictions prior to any state law implementation. So we continue to be adaptive in that way. So again, just a brief overview of how our regional housing needs allocation numbers, the number of housing units that have been allocated to our city, it's broken down from the state. HCD is issuing their RENA numbers, their determination for the entire region to SACOG. SACOG develops their methodology of distributing those housing units across all their member agencies, and each agency has to demonstrate that we can accommodate the RENA needs for the upcoming cycle. So these are our numbers for the next 8-year cycle. So in total, we're required to ensure that we have enough land to provide growth of 697 units. These are broken down into different income categories, as you can see. So MFI stands for median family income, which in Sacramento County is approximately $80,000. So 132 units, for example, have to be built that are affordable to a family making 30 to 50% of the median family income in Sacramento County. The way in which we demonstrate to HCD that we can accommodate these numbers that they've allocated is through our vacant land inventory, which was one of the exhibits provided with the staff report. This inventory is showing, typically it's showing a combination of vacant land as well as projects that are in the pipeline that would be finalized after May 31st of 2021, which is when the new housing cycle will start. It looked at constraints, trends in development that have occurred over the last 8 years that might carry forth into the next housing element cycle. And it looks at land that all land, whether that is completely vacant or underutilized, that could be available for the development of new housing. As you can see, the breakdown that we were able to come up with is actually utilizing all land that has been entitled with housing projects currently. These are all projects that have units that will be hopefully finalized after that May 31st deadline, meaning that it would count toward the 2021 to 2029 cycle. We're showing approximately 800 and a little less than 840 units to meet that 697 unit total. So we have shown that, you know, just in the projects that we have currently in the pipeline, that we would have more than enough to accommodate our RHNA share for the next 8 years. One of the things that we have to look at as well is what happens if a project falls out, or that the number of units that we were expecting do not get built. This is where this section here, the banked units, comes into play, where we like to have in our back pocket some land that would be available for the purposes of filling that gap. These are not counted towards our RHNA number. We're not reporting these to HCD as land that is going to be developed to meet that need. However, if one of these projects, like I mentioned, dropped out, we would be able to backfill it essentially. So the most important, component of doing this housing element update is generating feedback from the community, making sure that they're aware and involved of everything that's going on. That's a very difficult process, obviously, now with the pandemic going on, but we've done our best. We've taken our cues from a number of other jurisdictions in the region that have done a good job of doing a lot of outreach and ensuring that the message is getting out there that we are doing this housing element update and that we need feedback from members of the community to understand what changes are occurring in their lives and how can we best respond to that. So one of the first items that we tackled was coming up with a page on our city's website to make sure that all of this information is widely available and, ensuring that members of the public have access to it. As documents like the background report and the vacant land inventory were finished and in draft form now, they've all been made available for review and comment. Simultaneously with that, we began discussions with a number of different affordable housing developers in the area to get a better understanding of, one, does Citrus Heights, is it a place in need of more affordable housing? Which resounding answer is yes. And then beyond that is, are we providing the framework necessary to make that affordable housing happen? So we're able to glean a number of interesting points and bits of information from those conversations. Lastly, I guess the most informative feedback that we've received and the most robust feedback that we've received from the community has been through a combination of the Facebook Live event that was conducted last month. Casey Kempenaar and Stephanie Cotter and Nicole Baxter were able to put on a great Facebook Live event in which they did a nice Q&A discussion of what is the housing element, why is it important, what needs are we addressing, what kind of feedback are we seeking from the community. And in conjunction with that event, we put out 2 different surveys, one via Flash Vote and another via SurveyMonkey. And the great thing was we received over 400 responses from members of the community. So just a snippet of some of those responses is, you can see here, almost half of the respondents felt that a need for a diversity of housing in the city, that includes not just single family homes, obviously, but duplexes, ADUs, even apartments. I know there's some backlash against density or greater density, but it seems that, people understand that the need to mitigate the increasing costs of housing can only occur through, the building of more housing units. Nearly a third of respondents feel that ADUs is a great way to meet that need. So that accounts for our projections for the next 8 years. We're, expecting roughly 100 ADUs to be built over that period. I think as the numbers have continued to increase year over year, and as state laws continue to encourage that type of development, that does mirror the feedback that we've been receiving from the community as well, that this is a great product and people want to continue to build them. Finally, again, just speaking to the affordability crisis that plagues the entire state, the biggest challenge that residents of our city face is making sure that we continue to be an affordable place to live. So these are all issues that we are hoping to continue to address and make sure that these are elements that are reflected in our policy changes for this housing element update. Just a quick overview of why this would be exempt from CEQA. Section 15061B3 states essentially that it's the common sense clause of CEQA, where a project can be considered exempt if it doesn't really pose any potential to have a significant effect on the environment. We've come to that conclusion through a couple of different ways. One, we're not really proposing any significant policy changes or things that would create great environmental impact. And two, all the land that is being accounted for in our vacant land inventory to meet that RENA number has had some level of environmental review, because it is all land that has been entitled. So whether that's done through exemption or things that were covered by previous environmental impact reports or things of that nature, we've ensured that no significant effects will be occurring to the environment because they've all been covered by previous environmental review. And lastly, just looking forward, our hope is to have this certified by HCD in May of next year. So to meet that deadline, we want to make sure that we're able to get this to the City Council early next month. The recommendation for City Council will be to forward our draft amendment to HCD for an initial review. They have a period of up to 90 days. They can do that review and give us any feedback that they have. By the end of that period, we're hoping to implement any of those changes and take it directly back to the City Council again for adoption, so that we can get that final draft sent to HCD for certification, ideally by April, but again, final deadline would be May of next year. So these are our recommendations to the Planning Commission. And again, just due to the time constraints and the lack of really significant policy changes that we're proposing, we've recommended that the Planning Commission defer the final approval of the review document that HCD returns back to us in March, defer that review and approval to the City Council in April. So again, I'm available for any questions you guys might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Any of the commissioners have any questions of staff? Janelle?
No questions. Go ahead.
Hi, Eric. Did you say that our banked properties are also exempt from CEQA? Those have already been reviewed, the properties that are considered banked?
Sure. So looking at the 3 sites here that have been considered quote unquote banked, they are, yes, I mean, technically they've been entitled, or with the case of the Auburn Boulevard corridor, that is part of the Auburn Boulevard specific plan. Those are housing units that plan itself had gone through a level of environmental review that is, what's the word I'm looking for? It's concurrent, not concurrent. It's conducive to the general plan EIR that was done originally for the city. So essentially, the short answer is yes. The more complicated answer is because we're not technically counting these units towards RENA as of this submission, they wouldn't have to qualify, but I do understand where you're coming from in ensuring that if one of these original projects were to fall out, the new projects that we're allocating would still meet that CEQA requirement.
And then my second question, like since I've sat on Planning Commission, it seems that everything we've looked at has been exempt from CEQA. What is left that's not considered exempt these days?
I can take that. So
I was going to say Casey might be better to answer that. Thanks.
Of this list, the top 3, Mitchell Farms had an EIR. Fair Oaks Senior had a mitigated neg deck. Sunrise Point had a mitigated neg deck, and Sunrise Tomorrow is having an EIR. So those all have gone through pretty rigorous processes. It's a kind of a trend in CEQA these days to lean towards exemptions more often. Even though they're not shown here, we do try to lean on those more often. They are less susceptible to challenge in some respects than like a mitigated neg deck would be. So it's kind of a trend. So you are seeing more of those, in fact, but we do have the ones here have been through a pretty rigorous process.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions by commissioners?
No, but I'm gonna need a new pair of glasses after I've read through all these documents.
No questions by commissioners. I guess I need to open a public hearing. Are there any questions by the public on this document?
There are no questions in our inbox.
I will close the public hearing. I guess I'll ask for a motion.
I'll move to recommend that the city council find the project is exempt from CEQA per section 15061B3. Do you want them all at once?
I think for this one, because these are recommendations, you could group those 4 together unless Casey thinks otherwise, but I'm comfortable with one group motion.
Works for me.
Okay. I also move to forward the draft amendment to the city council for review and comment. I move to recommend the city council forward the draft to HCD for review. And I move to defer the future review and approval of the housing element to the city council after HCD review and comment.
I will second the motion.
Please call the roll.
Ryan, can I call do I need to read each of them separate, or can I just call for one motion?
You can call for one motion.
Thank you. Calling for a motion on item 6A, the recommendation for that city council find the project exempt from CEQA. Commissioner Flowers.
Yes.
Commissioner Engel.
Yes.
Commissioner Logmasino.
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Van Duker.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheeler.
Yes.
Chair Schaefer is absent. Motion passed unanimously.
Chair, we could probably, go ahead.
Next item.
Yes.
Regular calendar, item 7A, disposition of property located at 7137 Auburn Boulevard. This request is to adopt resolution 2020-10 to find the disposition of the property known as New Sylvan is consistent with the city's general plan as per findings required by government section code 65402 in environmental determination. The project is exempt per section 15061 of the CEQA guidelines. Project planner, Allison Bermudez.
Good evening, Chair. Thank you, Stacy. Allison here. I just have a quick item for you. Similar item to what you saw a couple months ago on the Sayonara property. So this is regard to the disposition of the Sylvan property. So as a reminder, what the property we're referring to is the former school site. That's 11.3 acres at the corner of Auburn, Old Auburn, and Sylvan. This is a site that the city purchased back in 2019 from San Juan School District after they demolished the former middle school. The city purchased the property as we realized it was really a crucial in the city's continued reinvestment along Auburn Boulevard, and we really wanted to have more control over its future development and how it's going to impact that area. So as purchasing an owner of the property, we felt that was the right thing to do to guide that development. So we did purchase it in 2019. Earlier this year, the city released offering to the development community, which sought development offers for the property. And that process is just completed or is just closed and being analyzed separately through a separate process. And so eventually this property will be sold. And in order to sell it, the city council must make findings, the planning commission, you must make the findings under the government code 65402, reaffirming that the property disposition of it is conforming with the city's general plan. So to show you the general plan land use for that area, the site shown here, this portion of this blue area with the designated land use of public, and then its zoning designation of residential. But really how the property is going to comply with our general plan is its future development. It really is going to revitalize and maintain our corridors and consistently with goal number 9 of the general plan. And then also goal 10, which is achieving attractive, inviting, and functional corridors, all important future development for that corner going towards those goals. So as a recommendation, we're seeking you to adopt the resolution stating that the sale of the property is consistent with the general plan, meeting the general plan goals. And so we can document this and hold it for our records. And as this project moves forward. As a reminder, there is no development occurring with this action tonight. This is just so the property could be sold in the future.
Thank you, Allison. Commissioners, any question by the commissioners? Seeing none, I think we will, oh, there she is. I will ask for a motion.
I'll take it. I move to adopt resolution number 2020-10, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Citrus Heights, California, adopting its report and certain findings required under the California Government Code Section 65402 for the disposition of the property located at 7137 Auburn Boulevard.
I'll second that.
Who was the second? I'm sorry.
Marcel?
Thank you, Marcel.
Hey, Stacy, real quick before you take the vote, I think there was a look or a call for public comment, but I don't know if I missed that. Do we have any public comment, Stacy, that someone has submitted?
I don't have anything. Casey, do you?
There's nothing in the email box.
Thank you. We can go ahead with the vote then.
Motion 7A, adopt resolution 2010, disposition of property located at 7137 Auburn Boulevard. Commissioner Flowers.
Yes.
Commissioner Engel.
Yes.
Commissioner Lognosino.
Aye. Yes.
Commissioner Van Duker.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheeler.
Yes.
Chair Schaefer is absent. Motion passed.
Next item, please.
Manager comments. Casey, did you have anything?
No comments today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is the adjournment. No further items.
Thank you all for attending tonight. Wish you all happy holidays. Stay safe. Stay distant. Stay covered.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great
good
night.
night, all.
Good night.